Hello, and welcome back to the Future in Review podcast. I'm Berit Anderson, the COO of Future in Review. And for those of you who have never heard of us before, we run the annual FIRE conference, which The Economist has called the best technology conference in the world. Now, the other arm of our business, Strategic News Service, provides its subscribers with the most accurate source of information about the future of technology and the global economy. So if you enjoy these updates, you can sign up for a SNS membership using the link below this video. And I'm here today talking with Mark Anderson, who, if you are a frequent follower of this channel and podcast, you know well. Mark is the CEO of Strategic News Service and the chair of the FIRE conference. And he also has been, for the last 25 years, I think, releasing his top 10 annual predictions for the year ahead, which have a 95.2% publicly graded accuracy rating to date. So one thing that we do every year, we release these predictions early to our members. And we will be doing that this week. We'll have a member happy hour event, predictions event with Mark. You'll have the chance to ask him questions. If you are not already a member, you can join now to get those predictions long before the rest of the world, and ask Mark questions in person at our event on Thursday. So Mark, tell us a little bit about what are some of the things that you thought about or considered in writing this year's predictions?
So yeah, every year that we've done this officially, a long time, I try to start out by giving people pictures of what I call the landscapes, the technology landscape and the economics landscape and the geopolitical landscape, as a way of establishing agreed upon understandings of what's going on, instead of just throwing out, here's 10 things. Mm-hmm. So I think that it helps people understand how I'm thinking about things before you just throw out some ideas about what's going to happen in the future. And so this year was kind of weird, Berit, because
I think you said that last year.
Well, they're always weird, but they're weirder. This year it was weird for the reason that I didn't do it that way. And what happened was, you may remember, we have this thing called the SNS mantra, which we've had for 10 or more years. I believe it doesn't sound original now, but I think it was original when we first put it out there, because we were so interested in national business models and in intellectual property, mm-hmm. and the theft of it and in the use of it, the creation of it. And so the mantra was, in the post-information age, technology drives every sector of the global economy, and intellectual property is its asset class. So that's what gets stolen or made or sold. So I finally realized this year, as I was looking through these landscape questions, that it has actually now become one. It's impossible to separate those landscapes. You know, if you want to talk about Taiwan, right? You know, mm-hmm. geopolitical war about to happen or not going to happen, and then you want to talk about Taiwan. Oh, they make chips. Oh, you want to talk about chips and their economic value around the world.
They're the same thing. It's the same conversation. Yeah,
it's all one conversation. So no more separation of the technology and economy landscapes from now on.
Okay.
They got merged.
So we're going to talk about one of your predictions for this next year as a teaser before our event on Thursday. But I want to start with going back to one of your predictions from last year, and just, you know, we do this in the Global Report every year. We go through the predictions and we assess ourselves and the accuracy of each one. So I'm going to read your prediction from last year out loud, and then I want you to give an assessment of the what actually happened.
Okay.
So your prediction this is from written and published in late 2021.
Late, yeah, that's right.
China becomes a pariah state, at last seen for what it really is and really does, to its own people and to others. Disengagement by the free world moves from a so-called impossibility 2 years ago to staged inevitability for all who can protect themselves.
Yep, that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked. Yeah.
So
So
yeah, so tell me like what's your personal assessment of that? How have we seen that playing out recently?
it's it's funny, Berit. It's I think people have a hard time remembering what they were thinking a year earlier or 5 years
Yeah,
earlier. You kind of, whatever your state of mind is right now, you kind of fuzz it over, think, well, it's always been that way, you know. But it wasn't so long ago that when we said that China was stealing the world's IP and that was their only business, no one believed it, you know. What are you talking about? And so now here we've kind of, every year we categorize the next steps in the progress that China's CCP has made or is making in this project of stealing the world's IP and then getting rich off of it and then destroying their competitors. And we're at that point now where last year we said what you read. And the good news is that I think just 3 years ago, if you, and it was done, you know, the US Chamber of Commerce, which tends to be pro-China, by the way, has, you know, they interview all their members and the members said, no, China's fine.
yeah,
Pretty good. We're worried about it, but not too worried. And so now you've got, I think last one was a few months ago, and something like a quarter of the members who are in China said we're getting out.
yeah. Everyone's getting out. Even Apple is getting out.
Even Apple is getting
You know, the only person that's not getting out yet is Tesla.
Starbucks.
Well,
Yeah.
Starbucks will never get out, but Elon's not getting out.
Well, no, I don't think Elon has a deal for his $2 billion or whatever dollar mega factory in China, which was the first deal ever done that allowed him to be full owner, right? Well done. But the fine print, as far as anyone can tell, is that if he sneezes twice in the wrong direction,
Right,
take it over. And add that to the amount of revenues he gets, which are very high, in EV sales in China. And so you've got a situation where, depending upon your view of Elon, it's either the most brilliant deal ever done because he's in the middle of his enemy's market, outselling them, and he's learning about them in order to compete worldwide. And he got the only deal ever done like that for a factory, or he's totally stuck. Or both.
or both.
Both. I think both.
Right.
Yeah, I'll take both.
He's probably, if I were him, I'd be writing it out until you know, at some point there'll probably be a break.
Out of there.
Yeah, they're going to take it over.
Yeah.
But until that point.
Yep.
So, you know, I think one of the things that it is interesting also is that at this point, at the point that you wrote this last year, 1 year ago today, all of the backlash from China's supply chain delays had yet to take place.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty clean slate.
Yeah. And, you know, flash forward to, I was at a Fortune brainstorm in Aspen in July, I believe. And the CEO of one of the world's biggest import or supply chain companies was like, yeah, about 75% of our work now is on onshoring or
friendshoring, whatever it's called.
Reversing formerly outside supply chains.
Yep, that worked. So there you go for last year.
Okay, so that's one from last year, and then we're going to do one from this year.
Yep.
So you tell me the one from this year.
No, you tell me because you can read it. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. I'll read it out loud.
Yeah.
So meta is micro, a real mega FUP, introducing the term mega FUP for mega failure to understand potential. The metaverse, just like IBM's Watson, is a firing offense if your CEO is fireable. Fortunately, after 25 quarters of diminishing revenues, Ginny was. Unfortunately for Facebook, after billions of dollars down the rabbit hole, Zuck is not. Perhaps they'll promote him out, ?
That'd be a good move. Yeah. That's it. So I like this idea of a mega failure to understand potential. The idea in modern times where in a tech company, one single person, fireable or not, can get so obsessed that they destroy the company with many years and billions of dollars misspent without any indication that it was going to work. It's true for Watson at IBM, and it's true for the metaverse. And Wall Street's starting to catch on to the metaverse caper now, but a lot of money. That's a lot of money down the drain.
Well, I think the other thing that's happened culturally that's shifted over the last year is there has been a major cultural shift in Silicon Valley, especially, and in the world at large as they relate to tech companies, right? Where we've seen some of these major companies really stumble, or it become clear that they've done things incorrectly, or that they've been manipulative, or that they've been, and that trend has made it less like people are much less likely to adapt or go along with this long time Silicon Valley trope that we can kind of just all upload our we don't have to worry about the real world because we can all upload our brains eventually to the internet and continue on in perpetuity, right? That was kind of the whole singularity narrative has been a driving part of Silicon Valley culture for a long time. And
it's wrong.
It's bullshit.
It's bullshit. It always was. Yeah.
I think that there's an awareness that all of these giant CEOs with these big companies may or may not be providing value and focus to their customers. And there's more of a cultural pushback against that.
That's true. I to be fair to the ones who are good, there are bad ones. And it's not like tech's bad. I don't think big tech is necessarily bad. That's the fad of the moment. But I think you can definitely have people in charge of big companies, including big tech companies, that don't have a clue about the future. And typically they come in two flavors. Either like in IBM's case, you have a person who, I don't know, doesn't seem that technical and gets totally sold on a thing which isn't even really AI. And then she sells it for 4 years or 5 years as like the answer to God's quest for AI and destroys the entire AI market. Just wipes out everybody.
Right. You're talking about Ginny Rometty.
Yeah. Bad move.
For those who are following.
Yeah. And, why really did the board not fire her after the first, when this happens, the CEO is firing people every day. Their mistake is leading to tens or hundreds of thousands of people being fired. At least tens and tens and tens, or 30,000, 40,000 people being fired because they're hanging like a dog on a bone onto a bone that isn't a bone. And if they won't let go, it's the board's job, to get rid of them. And why it took 20 or 25 quarters of continuing declining revenues at IBM for that to happen is beyond belief. It's an HBR special book on what went wrong. But in other cases, I think it's kind of like, and I'll try to say this with all due respect, but I don't think of Mark Zuckerberg as being particularly visionary or intelligent, really. So the idea that at Harvard you could start a thing for grading girls and how hot they were doesn't mean you're a visionary or that you're that smart. And then if you turn it into Facebook, or okay, a directory for kids at school. All right, how brilliant is that? Not very. And then you kind of go from there. So I don't know. I think that he had this lunch apparently, and he got sold on buying the Oculus for a couple billion. That started all. I happen to have been involved in VR at the very beginning. I was on the board of the first applications company for VR. Nice company. Failed, of course. And you realize pretty quickly that wearing these things for more than about 20 minutes is a lot of time. And so if your dream is because you're the head of Facebook that people are going to spend all day in these things, or you're going to what? No, not a chance.
Well, the funny, I think the funny thing is that I agree with you that not all big tech companies are bad. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there is a difference between tech companies that focus on solving real world problems
Mhm.
and tech companies that do not solve real world problems. Now, Facebook, interestingly enough, has this history, I think, of starting off to solve real world problems. Even if whether or not it was visionary to begin with, they do allow people to connect. They allow people to connect around geographies and interest groups and meet people and organize things and plan things. Their problem has always been when they have to introduce advertising in that, and it inevitably ruins every experience, right? Like Marketplace, for example, was extremely useful for many people. And in the last year or two, they basically just flooded it with ads that make it almost impossible to use effectively. So they have this history of creating useful things and then destroying them.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true.
Whereas Apple actually, I think a lot of the innovations that they're introducing are focused on, better empowering their users to have better privacy and security, whether or not that's actually true, communicating more easily and more seamlessly, and creating products that allow you to work and design and
it's like Steve's spirit still lives on.
Yeah, the
but,
creativity spirit.
The basic rule here is the opposite of that, where Steve's spirit doesn't really live on, and when you lose that visionary founder, you're done. You're just done. It might take 100 years, but what is IBM to you right now? What is, I don't know, you say this about a lot of companies. After the visionary is gone, and often it's two people who are the top two visionary. That's the normal thing in a tech company. But when they're gone, HP, right? That was the greatest company in the world, I think. You had these two visionaries, and they were the best company. Everybody who worked there got great jobs somewhere else. All the headhunters went after HP people because they were so well managed, so well trained, so diverse, amazing, And then Dave left, and at that point, I don't know, things get kind of rough. And I mean, really, I think Mark Hurd left in disgust, and what happened after that was much worse. So it's hard for a company to continue to have good leaders who are well chosen by effective boards and who can continue to maintain that visionary excitement and understanding of technology that you have to be a big tech leader. It's very, very hard.
Yeah.
Almost impossible.
It's a lot to manage.
It's asking a lot. And it's a tribute to those people like Steve Jobs who pulled it off, who really pulled it off. And like the Intel founders, and there are people who really pulled it off. But in general, it's not gonna last that long.
All right. Well, so that's about all we've got time for today. If you want to hear the rest of the predictions for 2023, you will need to become an SNS member. You can join us at our event on Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time. You'll get an invite if you become a member, and we can talk more about all of the predictions, and you'll also be receiving them in your inbox this week. So if you are already a member, we hope to see you there. And if you're not, sign up. Do not delay. Thanks,
and
Mark.
those conversations are really fun. I think that the Q&A and conversations are more fun in a lot of ways than the
They are. So we have a wickedly smart and interesting group of people who show up.
Yeah. So see you Thursday for lots of argument and disagreement and chat. It'll be fun.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Berit.